Hey, your soul is so good, Tilda. Yesterday, our family drove my mother-in-law to the countryside to visit relatives. And when we went back and forth, we met a kind old woman. And my mother-in-law told me that the old woman is 100 years old this year, and I have to call her grandmother in terms of seniority. Grandma's gray hair was gone, and her skin was dark and rough with scars and folds. And I saw that she lived alone in the countryside, so I asked my mother-in-law what about her children. And my mother-in-law said, "Don't look at Aunt Iping's tattered and inconspicuous clothes. Her son and grandson are now in the province and the other in the capital, all of them are big officials." My tiger body was shocked, and I said that real people don't show their faces. And they don't show real people. I didn't expect to meet such a low-key Mrs. Fate when I returned to my hometown this time. While I was thinking about it, my grandmother came to me tremblingly with a bottle of chilled Arctic Ocean soda. And said with a smile, "Drink it, near. This year's hot weather is ruining people. Later, if you want to go to the latrine, you can go to my house, which is a toilet for sitting." When I took the soda bottle, I saw a retractable plastic straw stuck in the mouth of the bottle. I couldn't help but feel a warmth in my heart. My grandmother knew that I had just come to life habits of many inconveniences. This silent, meticulous thoughtfulness moved me inexplicably. I looked into her eyes gratefully, and found that my grandmother's eyes were not as muddy as the eyes of ordinary old people. The eyes were clear, like a gentle and pleasant spring in early spring. When I went home at night to talk to my mother-in-law, as I expected, the life of my 100-year-old grandmother was enough to write a wonderful large-scale mythological story. Grandma's name is Iping, and she is a native of the countryside. For generations, her ancestors had faced the Loess with their backs to the sky, relying on the land and their hands to make a living. Iping's entire childhood was spent in the fields. The old family favored sons over daughters. Coupled with financial constraints, Iping did not enter the school for a day, and began to assist her father and mother in farm work from the time she could walk. The stars have changed, and in a blink of an eye, Iping has become a 16 or 17 big girl. She pulls the 5 younger siblings with one hand, one shoulder at home and outside. 3 meals a day and 4 seasons of clothes. My father and mother don't have to worry about it at all. Iping will cook for you properly when the time comes. After the younger brother and the younger sister were successfully admitted to high school, Iping sewed clothes, woven baskets, pasted cardboard boxes, and worked several jobs at the same time, night after night. Her mother couldn't stand it anymore, so she discussed with Iping and said, "Denier, it's really not good to tell your little sister not to read it. She is a girl, and it is useful to read so many books." Iping said to her mother without leaving the needle and thread, "Mother, don't mention this again." What kind of child, Nears? They are all the same people. Why can't they go to school and study the same? I'm already blind. And I can't ask a younger sibling to drop out of school anymore. After suffering for 7 or 8 years, Iping's 5 younger siblings were all enrolled in college by her. And their family became a unique Wink-star home in Scilly and 8 townships. Lovely Ping was completely dragged down by the heavy family tiredness. She looked more than 10 years older than her peers, and she had lost the unique beauty of a woman in her 20s. Iping has been working in the field all year round, and her skin has become thick and dark under the wind and sun. In order to make it easier for Lisuo to work without getting in the way, she trimmed her hair short and straight like a flute child. Long-term overload of physical labor has made Aiping muscular and developed, and there is no feminine gentle lines and demeanor like a big iron tower. Coupled with her naturally hoarse and low male duck voice, she is a female man. Aiping, who is 30 years old, has become the boss of the whole village. And she has not been able to find her mother-in-law's house for a long time. The villagers recognized her as the most capable and good girl in the township, but her image was really discouraged by all the old and young masters. One year, there was abundant rain, and it rained heavily for more than half a month. And the little granddaughter of the Xia mother-in-law's family in the north of the village unfortunately fell into the well. It happened that Aiping went to work in the field and was about to go home. She immediately jumped into the well with a pop, and thanks to her timely rescue, the little girl was able to be sent home by Aiping unscathed. Aiping cried when she went to Granny Xia's house. The old woman was paralyzed on the cane for several years. And her son and daughter-in-law all went to the city to work, leaving only a 7-year-old granddaughter in her hometown to live with her grandmother. That day, the little girl ran to the well to fetch water for her grandmother, and she accidentally fell into the well on a slippery rainy day. Since then, Aiping has gone to Granny Xia's house every day to take care of her daily life. The old lady had bed sores, and she carefully cleaned and medicated. The old lady was constipated for several days and couldn't poop, so she started to give medicine and enema to clean up. The villagers all said that Aiping is simply a living bodhisattva, but it is a pity that she did not take off a good skin. And it is difficult to have an emotional destination in this life. After another 2 years, Aiping is actually going out. The whole village was a sensation, and the big guys competed to see who the warriors were sacrificing themselves, which fulfilled the expectations of the whole village for Aiping. As soon as the groom appeared on the wedding day, the noisy and lively wedding banquet was instantly muted, and people even forgot to breathe. When the newlyweds spoke, the groom blushed slightly and said that he was originally passing through a foreign country and caused a great disaster here, but thanks to the rescue of Aiping, he was able to save his life. This is fate. God gave him and Aiping the fate. After marriage, Aiping and her husband are affectionate and envious of others. And the villagers say that God has opened his eyes. Aiping is a good person. And there is a good reward. A year later, Aiping gave birth to a big fat boy. And the whole family couldn't keep their mouths shut. Only Aiping, a first-time mother, always can't hide her sadness and can't stop crying. It's strange to everyone, but there was no such thing as postpartum depression at that time. Unexpectedly, Aiping's son was only out of the full moon, and her husband died without a problem. The night before, I was still a good person, and I slept all night. Aiping's family was in pain, and they were worried that Aiping would have a nervous breakdown and would not be able to hold on if she was suddenly hit hard. To everyone's surprise, Aiping seemed to have been mentally prepared and handled her husband's funeral step by step with a calm attitude of great compassion and silence. Aiping's hardships in raising her son alone go without saying, but she is as enthusiastic and kind as ever, and she must take the lead and contribute money and efforts when someone has difficulties. Aiping's son is a genius, intelligent, sensible and considerate since he was a child, and knows that it is not easy to feel sorry for his widow. After graduating from high school, the child was admitted to Tsinghua University in one fell swoop. The village beat gongs and drums to celebrate the first champion in the village to be admitted to the capital. However, Aiping still looked faintly pampered and not surprised, and the outsider was like a loss. My mother-in-law told me that I Ping and her mother told the villagers before she died that in fact, I Ping's dead ghost husband was not a human, but a four-legged snake who had not achieved cultivation. It only needs to go one step further to cultivate its horns and it can fly to Jackie Chan. Helplessly, many years ago, he was caught by I Ping's little brother because of carelessness and wanted to roast and eat. I Ping stopped it in time and released it, and the snake turned into a human form and returned to repay the favor. I Ping told her mother that she couldn't believe it at first. And for no reason, a handsome young man fell from the sky, and he begged for life and death to marry her. The four-legged snake confessed everything to I Ping in the morning. And he came to repay her for saving her life. Their husband and wife fate could not be completed for 3 years. But he would repay a noble son of I Ping's family, and since then the family has been prominent and has been an official for generations. Therefore, when her husband died suddenly, I Ping did not have unbearable sorrow. She once asked the four-legged snake if it was very difficult to be married to her. The snake told her that the spiritual creatures of cultivation had never looked at the skin. And that her primordial spirit was very beautiful, far superior to many earth immortals. I Ping asked them if they could see each other again, and the snake told her that all beings in the world were not practicing in the tribulations, guarding their consciousness from being infected by mundane evil thoughts. And if there was a day when they would ascend to enlightenment, they might not know if they would see each other again. Many years later, I Ping's son really became a member of Beijing, and his grandson was already in an important position. It is said that the appearance of a person before the age of 30 is given by his parents, and the appearance after the age of 30 is the appearance of your soul. If you want to ask me whether a good skin is important or a good soul is valuable, 10 years ago, I might not hesitate to have a good skin, and women are allowed to please themselves. But as I got older, my skin got older, and I gradually realized that it really took a lot of effort not to make my soul ugly. The skin will eventually decay into nothingness, but the soul spirit can be cleansed for thousands of years without dying. May we all be able to fly to immortality one day, and when we meet again after 100 lifetimes, we can greet each other with a smile. Hey, your soul is so beautiful, Tilda.